Okay, let's jump right into it. Today's deep dive is taking us into, well, a really profound, almost hidden cosmic struggle. It's centered on this big question. Are universal moral laws, God's commandments, actually valid? And how does that whole question impact, well, the future of existence itself?
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating looking at our sources is how they detail Satan's intricate strategy, his plan to basically undermine these very commandments. But crucially, they also show God's powerful counterplan. It's quite surprising, really, and very personal. Our mission today is to sort of pull out those surprising insights. What's this spiritual battle about? And importantly, what does it mean for you?
Okay, so at its heart, the material we've looked at points to Satan's core argument. He claims, essentially, that God's commandments are just impossible for created beings like us to actually keep. Think about that. If he could prove that, then these laws couldn't fairly be used for judgment, could they? Which for him means potentially avoiding his own condemnation in the lake of fire mentioned in the text.
But that raises a really important question, doesn't it? What if people do keep them? The sources say that if enough beings demonstrate this unwavering love for God, love for others, even if it costs them everything, even death, well, their lives become the proof. They prove the commandments are true and possible. This is where that idea of witnesses or martyrs becomes so critical. They aren't just victims. Their steadfastness, their sacrifice, it directly challenges Satan's claim. It shows the commandments can be lived, and therefore they're a standard for judgment.
Right, okay. So if witnesses are the key to proving the commandments, how does Satan try to stop that? Our research shows a multi-pronged attack. It's quite sophisticated. First, there's seduction and distraction. And it's not always obvious evil. He diverts focus using, well, normal worldly things: money, school, jobs, marriage, family status, power, hobbies, pleasure, comfort. The aim seems to be getting people so wrapped up in earthly things that they just lose the time or even the desire for deeper spiritual truths, sometimes maybe without even noticing they're drifting or ignoring their own sinful inclinations. It's subtle.
Very subtle. And the second method is deception and corrupted worship. It's not usually about stopping worship altogether, but twisting it, making it serve selfish desires. The sources give some strong biblical examples here. Think about the Israelites with the golden calf back in Exodus. They weren't exactly rejecting worship, were they? They just made something they could see and control. Or King Jeroboam in the Book of Kings setting up his own calves, his own priests. It was about convenience and control. And Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel demanding everyone worship his golden statue or face death. It all points to Satan pushing people to prioritize wealth or power or even just basic survival over genuine devotion to God, worshiping what they made or what keeps them safe.
Wow, yeah, twisting worship itself, that's insidious. And the third approach?
Direct persecution and elimination. This is where he targets those who are actually upholding the truth, especially those witnesses we mentioned. Because their unwavering commitment, it's a direct threat to his lie. It exposes the whole thing. They become a big threat.
That makes sense. They're the living proof he's trying to prevent.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the sources draw this really powerful parallel. It's with the story of Haman and Esther in the Bible. Haman, in this reading, basically acts like Satan. He wanted to wipe out all the Jews. Why? Because, like Mordecai, they refused to bow down to him. They worshipped only God.
Ah, right. And Esther, she was in this impossible spot, wasn't she? Mordecai challenges her, saying something like, "Don't think being in the palace will save you. Maybe you're here for this exact moment." And her response is just incredible. "If I perish, I perish." That decision, that willingness to sacrifice everything out of love and obedience, it changed everything. And then the twist. Haman gets hanged on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. It's an amazing parallel.
It really is. And the sources suggest that this mirrors an even deeper truth. Just like Esther's resolve points towards Jesus on the cross, the idea is that Satan tried to use it through the cross to destroy the ultimate Adam, meaning Jesus. But that very cross, that instrument of death, it becomes the means of Satan's own judgment, and it becomes a tree of life for believers, symbolizing victory and access to God. So, despite all Satan's efforts, the sources emphasize God's plan is fixed. A certain number of witnesses will emerge. They will prove the commandments are true and can be kept.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the takeaway for you listening right now? This deep dive shows us this, cosmic chess match playing out through history. Satan's using strategies, some subtle, some really overt, all trying to convince us. Convince us that living by these higher principle God's ways is just impossible, or maybe just too costly, pushing us to choose comfort or even just survival over truth and love.
But the counter-narrative is the unwavering faith of these witnesses. Their willingness, ultimately, to sacrifice everything. That's what definitively proves the commandments can be kept. And that proves God's love and justice are real and true. And that, in turn, sets the stage for the final judgment and the eventual end of sin and death. It's all connected.
So here's something for you to think about in your own life right now. What forces, maybe subtle things, maybe obvious pressures, might be trying to convince you that following a path of real love, real principle is impossible, or just asking too much? And maybe consider this. How could your own commitment, your own choices, become part of this profound ongoing proof?